WWE produced a 24 on Kofi Kingston called Kofi Kingston, the Year of the Return. And this one, it's going to be more about Kofi Kingston returning to Africa in the country of Ghana, where he was born. He didn't come to the United States till the early 90s. And the Year of the Return is called, they're going to have Africans returning to Africa. I guess that means Africans not living in Africa, if I'm mistaken, and to commemorate the Year of the Slave Trade. And they show Kofi visiting where they would take the slaves out. Africa at the time was run by kings and dictators and rulers, and they would trade out slaves. So they had people who were slaves, and they would trade them out to countries that were very wealthy, and they'd put them on a boat, and they'd never be seen again. So he's talking about now when he moved to the United States. He lived in Boston. He even attended WrestleMania 14, which I did not know. That's really cool. I had no idea Kofi was at WrestleMania 14. So Kofi tells the story of how he became Jamaican. So he was just driving one day, and he was listening to Bob Marley CDs, and he started to sing in the lyrics with a Jamaican accent like Bob Marley, and soon later he developed it and he started using it, and that's how he would use it in his promos. So I vaguely remember those Jamaican vignettes when he was debuting. It was on ECW, actually. I remember when he first debuted in 2008. And those promos were, they were very cheesy, but that was how the company was doing stuff at that time. They would have these over-the-top characters. I remember Kofi. I remember Kazarni. He was another character they did that was very out there. And some of them got fired quickly, but Kofi was able to stick around mainly because of his talent in the ring. But the gimmick itself, again, it was a corny gimmick, but I thought he did the best he could for a while before the New Day. So now we're going to past when he stops being Jamaican after the interaction with Triple H. Then he, for about, 5 years, he's floating into limbo. He's in limbo for 5 years. He gets a push here and there. He'll make an Intercontinental title or something like that. But he's just used as enhancement talent, or he's used in big spots, such as the Royal Rumble. He does his big Royal Rumble spot every year when he survives being eliminated, only to be eliminated for something smaller. He does that at Money in the Bank. That's what he was used for, really, before they did the New Day in 2014. So there was about 5 years, maybe 4 years, actually, because he was getting a push. His push died in about 2010. Or the end of 2009, actually, when the feud with Randy Orton commenced. That's when his push died. And 4 years, technically, 4.5 years before the New Day formed, he was just kind of in limbo for that while. So now we're going to get to the formation of the New Day. And Xavier Woods had the idea. So they go back to that Raw episode when Xavier Woods came in the ring. And he was dressed up as Malcolm X. And everyone thought this was going to be a modern-day Nation of Domination, including myself. And I was really excited because I was a huge fan of the Attitude Era, and I was a fan of the Nation. So I thought, man, this is going to be really good. This is going to be more of a militant African-American group. That's what most people assumed it was going to be. Instead, what you had was it got over like crazy on the first night with Xavier showing up. And then it went to hell for about 6 months before it finally turned into something good. But, man, the New Day at first were fucking horrible. So, oh my God, I remember how bad it was when it first debuted. They're doing preachers. It's more so of Vince. He came up with the idea. He wanted them to be preachers. He wanted a church, predominantly a black church, something like that. They were church members, they were preachers, they were choir members. I don't know exactly what the gimmick was supposed to be at that time, but man, did it fail. And they knew it was going to fail because it's just not going to work. People wanted to see more of a Nation of Domination style of gimmick, and fans wanted that, and I think they really rejected this gimmick, and it really just, it was a horrible, horrible gimmick for a while before they finally turned it around. Finally, the New Day turns heel. They insult the crowds. They start clowning people in the back. There was a funny segment in which they had them dunk on some random guy who was working backstage. I thought that was funny. And eventually, the fans got behind him. I remember during WrestleMania 32, if I remember, they were really over. Their merchandise was everywhere. The fans were going nuts for them. And, of course, they lose to the worst team ever, the League of Urinations, on that show. But they were really, really over. And that's when the New Day really finally took off. And they became a team for many years. They became very popular, one of the strongest merch sellers in the WWE for about a 3-year period, and still right now they are. So we really get a good behind-the-scenes look of the New Day, of how close they are, and we go back to Africa now, and he's showing kids a championship. It's a really big moment for him. I figured they'd do a 24 because they're making such a big deal of it on social media, so I figured it made sense to do a 24 episode on this. And we'll see how long his championship reign lasts, but it's definitely cool to see him really happy with these fans, and you can tell he's really proud to be champion. It really means a lot to him. So we get to the present 2019, earlier in the year, and the New Day aren't really doing much before Mustafa Ali gets hurt, and it's set up for an Elimination Chamber match at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Orton injures Ali. Ali is forced to go, and they have a gauntlet match, and that's when they choose Kofi as the replacement, and that's where his opportunity happens. I think he really took Mustafa Ali's position in the chamber, because I don't think it was going to be Daniel Bryan and Mustafa Ali at WrestleMania. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. They could have gone that way. Ali had only been on the main roster for 6 months. You still have time to build him up more and to have him have a big WrestleMania moment if they choose to go that route. I didn't think it was ever going to be Ali, because I think Daniel Bryan was set up to face Kevin Owens, because they were setting up the Kevin Owens vignettes. That's where I thought they were going. I thought it was Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. I thought Ali was just going to get a big spot at the chamber, and he was going to beat him again at the next show. Was it the Fastlane show? That would be it for Daniel Bryan and Ali. Everything changed. Ali gets hurt, and that puts Kofi in his spot in the gauntlet match, and Kofi has a great showing. He gets over at SmackDown. He's over like crazy at the chamber. They knew he was probably not going to win, but they really got behind him, and the rest is history. So the gauntlet goes well. Now we get to the chamber. So it's a really good story. The fans are really behind him. It keeps the journey alive. He wants his chance against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, and he keeps getting closer, but Vince McMahon keeps screwing him, keeps taking away opportunities, and then finally, he finally gets his match. So they did some stuff where they touched on racial lines with Vince McMahon. It's almost a story of they're not calling Vince a racist, but they're trying to tell that story of Kofi can't get the opportunity. He doesn't look a certain way, and Vince won't give him the opportunity. And Vince says, if you were worthy, you would have gotten it a long time ago. They really tried to touch on his lines, but they didn't go all the way with it. They had Big E do a video in which he teased about leaving the WWE, which obviously that was complete work. I think some people were actually bought it, which I laughed my ass off that people would actually think that it's not real. That was actually real. I mean, of course it's a storyline. What the hell's wrong with you guys? Can't you see what's going on television? I mean, some of the fans I read on Twitter, WWE is racist, Vince is racist. How could you not see this is a fucking storyline? You actually think Kofi's not going to get the opportunity to get the title shot at WrestleMania? Doesn't mean he's going to beat Daniel Bryan for sure at that time. We didn't know. But I mean, of course he's going to get the title shot. Like, how stupid can fans be sometimes? They're actually that gullible. But obviously, Daniel Bryan Kofi eventually sets it up. I forget exactly how. They had every week Vince would come out and screw Kofi on SmackDown. So it's going to be Kofi's going to get the title shot and finally, eventually, they build it up to WrestleMania. I thought they went out. I thought they did a bit overkill. I thought they did it too much screwing. I thought it made it too obvious what they were trying to do with the storyline. I thought it would have been more organic just to have Vince hold him down a couple of times before Kofi eventually breaks through, and eventually that sets up Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. But I thought it was a good storyline. It was definitely by far the best part of WrestleMania. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. The build-up was the best. I thought the build-up to the women's match was great at first, and it really fell apart. And then with the main event, I thought the build-up to Brock and Seth was okay, but on that show, Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan steals the show no matter what. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. You had some good matches, but on that show, that was by far the best part of the show. Not even close. Easily the best match, and definitely the best part of WrestleMania. There's a kind of a funny moment at a WWE Access signing at WrestleMania to show Kofi receiving a New England Patriots jersey with Kofi Mania. So Kofi's from Boston. He's a big Patriots fan. That was actually a cool part. So now we get to WrestleMania, and this is, I don't know how many documentaries they've done for WrestleMania this year. They might have shot 20. I mean, you had the Becky 24, which was good, the Ronda 24 during WrestleMania. You had the Batista one during WrestleMania, the Triple H one, not a 24, but during Mania, the Alexa Bliss 365 during Mania. So this is their 6th WrestleMania documentary. That's insane. So they showed WrestleMania 29, the last time they had WrestleMania in New York before this year. I remember Kofi was doing the pre-show panel on the pre-show. He had Jim Ross, he had Dusty Rhodes, and you had one of the commentators. man, I remember how where he was at the time on the roster. It was good for him to at least have a spot to do something, it's better than just not being seen on camera. But they really weren't doing much with him. And one thing I really want to say is I have to go back to this. Last time they were at MetLife Stadium, they had an awesome set. The WrestleMania 29 set's one of the best sets ever. It had everything about New York at WrestleMania. You had the Statue of Liberty, which was above the ring, up on top of the structure above the ring. You had on the stage, on the Titantron, you had a giant Brooklyn Bridge, and you had a giant Empire State Building. It looked really cool. I had all the New York City monuments. I thought they were going to go over and above this year because it was back in New York. I thought they were going to have everything, and instead what you get is nothing, really. What you get is a giant, really good 4D screen, and that's it. It was just a really small set, and it kind of sucked. I wanted a really great set. They show him embracing the Iconics before the show. They also showed him with Ronda. It's a big moment for him. All the wrestlers are happy for him. He's a good guy. They show an interview before the show with Xavier and Big E with Kayla Braxton. And this is, you can tell Xavier and Big E are just as happy as Kofi is. They really want Kofi to get this moment. And I remember an interview Xavier Woods did several years ago. It goes back a while now. He talked about his main goal in WWE was he wanted Kofi to have the WrestleMania moment. He didn't really care if him or Big E got the belt. He wanted Kofi to win the title. That was his goal, his big goal in wrestling. That happened. It really worked out for Kofi in the end. One thing I did not like about the match is I just remembered they had every single time during the match it showed the superstars supporting Kofi. I thought that was unnecessary. We know people like Kofi. They supported him on SmackDown before, but we don't need to do that. I don't know. I was not a fan of that. It kind of takes me out of the match. We get, people love Kofi and the fans are behind him. I don't know. I didn't think that was necessary to keep showing people in the back. So we see after Kofi gets his big moment, he beats Daniel Bryan, the New Day celebrates. Everyone backstage is going nuts. They're all, showing him love. He gets the belt. It's a huge moment. He's really well loved behind the scenes, and it's a great moment for Kofi. So overall, I thought it was a very good documentary, very long. Got everything, really captured his journey going into WrestleMania, his big moment, winning the title, getting his big moment. Great documentary, in my opinion. He came off very likable. He had Big E and Xavier also on there as well, and it really took you on his journey. It really shows you how proud he is to be a champion. Of course, to be the first. He's not the first black champion, but he's the first African-born champion. Of course, he had The Rock before him, and you had several black wrestlers win the world heavyweight title, just not the WWE title. I think you had Booker T and Mark Henry, if I'm not mistaken, both won the world title. And Rock won the WWE title, but he's the first African-born champion, so big deal for him, and it really means a lot. And, after WrestleMania, post-WrestleMania, you can judge his run forever you want. It hasn't been great. Has he been setting the world on fire like he did before he won the belt? No, but it still is a good moment. He's done a lot to really earn it, and I think it was definitely still an amazing moment at WrestleMania seeing him win the title. So he thanks the fans for everything, and you thank him for his performance as a WWE wrestler. So overall, WWE 24, Kofi Kingston, very good. Definitely worth the watch.